Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar from me on the chilly coast in Hastings today. It's just gone 1 o'clock, so we'll wait a few moments to give everyone a chance to join, and do feel free to drop into the Q&A box and say hi. Let us know where you're joining us from today. So I can see lots of you joining. Glad you could make it today. Hi Tracy in Hull. Anybody else want to say hi in the Q&A box? Let us know where you're here from. Hi Anne in Ruislip. Anthony in the West Midlands, Jan in Chelmsford, hi at Mencap, hiya. And Sharon in North Devon and Dylan in Leeds. Oh, there's loads of people saying hi. Thanks for joining. Okay, I'll just give it a few more moments. You can see the numbers jumping up. Okay, I think we'll make a start now. So hello everybody and welcome to our webinar, How to Steer Clear of Seasonal Scams with Linda Robson and Adam Carter. I'm Annie Mannion and I'm Digital Marketing Manager at AbilityNet, and I'll be running you through today's session. So before we start, just to go through a few bits of housekeeping. So we're joined today with live captions by Patricia at MyClearText, and you can turn on the captions using the CC option on the control panel. And additional captions are also available at streamtext.net/player !event equals AbilityNet, and I'll put that in the Q&A window as well. You can download the slides as well if you wish, and follow along on our website at abilitynet.org.uk/seasonal scams webinar. And then if you have any technical issues or you need to leave early, don't worry, you'll receive an email within the next week sharing the recording, the transcript and the slides. And then depending on how you joined the webinar, I can see lots of you have found the Q&A window, but if you want to ask us any questions, do drop those in the Q&A area. And then finally, at the end, we have a feedback survey that you'll be directed to, so please do complete that if you're able. So those of you who aren't yet familiar with AbilityNet, we're now more than 25 years old, and we're a charity that supports older people and disabled people living with any disability or impairment to use technology to achieve their goals at home, at work and in education. And we do this by providing specialist advice, accessibility testing and training, and free information like fact sheets and also this webinar. So today, discussing how to steer clear of seasonal scams, we have joining us actress and TV presenter Linda Robson, who's best known for her appearances on Birds of a Feather and Loose Women. And she'll be sharing her experiences of being scammed in the past and how she narrowly avoided falling victim to more recent attempted online scams. And also joining us is Adam Carter, who is Senior Project Officer at the National Trading Standards Scams team and also CEO of Consumer Friend organisation. So just before Adam shares his advice and we speak with Linda, I'm going to start with a quick poll to find out a bit more about you all here today. So let me just launch the poll now. So can you tell us, have you ever been a victim of a digital scam? So the answers were yes, I nearly was, but I was able to avoid it in the end. No, I'm not sure and not applicable. So give you a chance to answer that. And just to let you know, again, depending on how you joined the webinar, you may find you can't see the poll, but you can respond in the Q&A panel. So I'll just give everybody a few more moments to vote. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. And sharing the results, we can find that 41% of you, thankfully, have not been a victim of a digital scam. 30% nearly were, but managed to avoid it in the end. 22% yes have been a victim of a digital scam, 7% are not sure, and then 0% not applicable. So yeah, hopefully, thank you for your responses, and for anybody looking for tips and reassurance, we've got some great advice coming up for using tech further on a daily basis. So now over to Adam to highlight your top tips for avoiding online scams.
Thank you, Annie, and thank you for inviting me to talk today on seasonal scams. I'm hoping to talk to you. If we just have the next slide, please. I've got 4 scams for you, but I will also talk a little bit about the National Trading Standards Scams team, which is who I work for, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. And then we're going to move into the 4 different scam types. So in the spring, I'm going to talk about romance fraud, how doorstep crime increases during the summer months. And as it gets colder, we look at the green energy scams, and then going through to the winter, Christmas with the Black Friday sales, and how criminals seize on that as an opportunity to defraud consumers. And if we've got time, I'm going to check the time now. Annie, when am I running to? Half past?
Around 1:25.
Around 1:25. If we have time, I'm going to talk a bit about some of the research that the team has done around the language that we use with victims of fraud and victims of scams, and how we need to change it up a bit and place the blame on the criminals rather than on the victims. But that's only if we have time. So next slide, please. I'm hoping that you've all heard of the National Trading Standards Scams team. In 2016, we started an initiative called Friends Against Scams, which is an online initiative which has a awareness session around fraud and scams. It talks about how to spot a scam, how to spot that someone has become a victim of a fraud, and the kind of empowerment piece, the what you do if you have been a victim, where you can go if there's any kind of chance for getting your money back, or those kind of things. So Friends Against Scams is there. Anyone who completes the session becomes a friend. And we have over 1 million people that have completed that session, either online or at a face-to-face session. I have to say the face-to-face sessions were quite big pre-COVID. We're struggling to get them back after COVID, I have to say. So next slide, please. The National Trading Standards Scams team, this is a bit of a mismatch of what we do. The police have the 4 Ps, so they have the pursue, protect, prevent, and one other that I can't think of right now. We actually have the 5 Is in the National Trading Standards Scams team. We were started in 2012, and that first I is identify. Our primary purpose of our team is to identify victims of mass marketing fraud, and we do that by working with enforcement agencies here in the UK and across the globe, and I say globe, largely North America and across Europe, to seize victims lists. So to seize the marketing lists that criminals are using to target UK consumers. So any prosecution that would happen in America where we've got someone committing mail fraud, targeting UK consumers, we will aim to get that list. Now, the criminals call this list the suckers list, or a suckers list. It's their marketing list. It's a horrible term. So we will work with those enforcement agencies, and then we intervene. So with that information, we have nearly 1.5 million names on our database. With that information, we send that out to local authority trading standards teams who go out and perform some really valuable intervention work. So they may well knock on these victims' doors. They may well send them a letter. They may well just give them a call, depending on the information that they've got, to try and prevent them from further victimization. In some cases, we are able to even return money. We are also able to provide equipment, like in the picture here, we've got a Ring video doorbell, so some form of recording equipment at the doorstep if they've been a victim of doorstep crime, or we've got a TrueCall call blocker device, which I'll talk a little bit about later on. We aim to influence and make scams and fraud a national or regional topic. So we will talk to government agencies, we'll talk to politicians, CEOs, and try and increase awareness around scams and fraud. And our boss, Louise Baxter, spends a lot of time going around and being on TV and doing things like Rip Off Britain, those mid-morning consumer programs. that kind of thing. She was on BBC Scams Week last week as well. Like I say, the inform part is that Friends Against Scams, the awareness piece in 2016. We started that, so please, by all means, go onto the Friends Against Scams website, which is friendsagainstscams.org.uk, and complete the session. But we also highlight other national campaigns such as UK Finance, Take Five to Stop Fraud, and the government campaign Stop Think Fraud. We have a small investigations team as well, which look to work with those enforcement agencies and other agencies in the UK and across the globe to disrupt criminal processes. We don't take on any prosecutions ourselves, but we look to disrupt criminal processes by working with professional enablers, people that allow the scams on their network, so telephone providers, direct debit providers, that kind of thing, and we'll work with them to disrupt criminals as much as we possibly can. We're a small team. It's a tough fight, but I'm sure we'll get there at some point. So next slide, please. I'm going to talk to you a bit about some seasonal scams. Now, I've put romance fraud into spring. We see an increased reporting amount of romance fraud in the spring. It's usually as a result of Valentine's Day, February the 14th, or it takes a while for that scam to infiltrate and actually to be realized as a scam and as a fraud. And romance fraud is how criminals trick people into relationships online to gain their trust and steal money or personal information. So if we could just go to the next slide, I'm going to talk to you a bit about romance fraud. Now, criminals will create fake profiles, but they won't necessarily create fake profiles just on dating websites. They will also create those fake profiles on Facebook, on Instagram, on X or Twitter or or other social media platforms, and they will often use images from genuine people in armed forces. So, for example, here Daniel Blackman was a very famous romance fraudster. He was unaware that his images was being used by criminals, and they will put those fake profiles and they will target people online on dating websites or on the social media platforms. And they will do something called love bombing, where they will shower their potential victim with love, with praise, with telling them that one day they'll get married, that kind of thing. And they will look to take people off that social media platform and go onto onto WhatsApp or something called Google Hangouts. And once they've elicited that trust, once they've got you, once they've hooked that person, they will start asking for money or start disguising the fact that they're asking for money. They may well say that they make loads of money through investment in cryptocurrency, for example, and they might say, I can help you make loads of money on cryptocurrency as well. I'll show you how I do it. Now, this is something that's been quite prevalent recently, where they'll get that trust and they'll start getting that victim to investing money into a cryptocurrency platform, and they will be able to show that person the cryptocurrency platform and show how it's making money, when actually in reality that cryptocurrency platform is fake and the money's not really there. It's just all for show. That's an investment fraud. They may well say that they are in the hospital and they need money desperately. They may well say they need money for legal bills or travel bills, but they will disguise that as well. They will disguise it. And if only someone could help me, that kind of thing. So it becomes your idea, the victim's idea. If we can go to the next slide, I've got some information here from an e-booklet which is available on the Thames Valley Police website, but I believe it's available on a lot of other police websites. It's been written by a linguistic expert, a forensic linguistic expert, that does exist, believe it or not. And she talks a lot about how the criminals use language to manipulate, to coerce and control their victims. And she talks a lot about the different aspects of it. So here we see that the criminal will be using a sense of urgency so that it gets that victim or the potential victim into what's called a hot state, where their decision making can become impaired and they will do anything for that loved person. They will start transferring money over. They will often say you need to keep the relationship a secret, that our relationship is just between us two, because they don't want that person to go and talk to other people and to almost verbalize what's happening and to maybe get a second opinion, which is probably going to be we believe this person to be a criminal. You're ruining their love. So that's romance fraud. I sit on a panel hosted by City of London Police called Date Safe, have done for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's fascinating to see how this crime has evolved over the years. It's certainly something that we're seeing a lot of, and it increased during COVID as a result of social isolation and loneliness. So that's romance fraud. The World Romance Fraud Prevention Day is in October, so please get behind any kind of messaging that gets put out there. Next slide, please. Now, in the summer, the sun comes out, and doorstep criminals also come out as well. So I guess kind of before COVID, this was the traditional knock on the door. However, they had to change their tactics when they weren't allowed out of the house and they started to move online. This picture here is taken from a video that was created by Kent Trading Standards and Kent Police, and it's a story of Peter and how he became a romance fraud victim. So next next slide, please. So here we've got an image of a rogue trader. You'll often get a knock on the door saying, we're in the area, or I can see a loose tile on your roof, or we've got some materials left over from a previous job. We can go and fix that for you. We can go and fix the roof. We can do that for you for a small fee. Now, once the person at the door says, yes, that sounds great. That sounds fantastic. Thank you very much. Often the price will escalate. They'll get up to the roof and they'll fix that loose tile, but then they'll say, "Oh, there's a big problem over here with your roof. We need to sort that out quickly, or it's going to fall down." And these are all lies. These are all fabricated, just to try and get more money from their victims. Now, during COVID, like I said, they weren't allowed out of the house. They weren't allowed to knock on the doors, were they? They weren't to have face masks on and all that kind of stuff. So they moved quickly online, and they moved to what we call those trusted trader sites, or the trader comparison sites. You can probably name quite a few of them, where consumers put the jobs that they want done on their home on these sites, and these criminals will then go in and target those consumers by offering unbeatable value and going in with a quote that's less than what the job less than the job is. And they'll entice those people in, and once they've got that hook, again, they can start eliciting their crimes, their scams. If you've been a victim of a doorstep criminal or rogue trader, it does incur some huge bills. So trying to take these people to court is very, very hard, and a lot of people just kind of give up. Now, as my role in Consumer Friend, we have done some work with a couple of people who are campaigning to get builders licensed. So at the moment, anyone can stick builder on the side of a van and claim to be a builder. So we're doing some work with a couple of people around getting building and building regulations licensed. And we do have a podcast on that, which you can hear on the Consumer Friend website. So that's doorstep crime. Next slide, please. So in the autumn, then the temperature drops, and therefore we start using more gas and electric than we normally have over the summer, and it's starting to get colder. And we look at that smart meter that we've now all got, haven't we? I call it an anxiety meter, because we're all panicking about how much money we're spending on gas and electric. And we start to get cold called around green energy scams. So if we can have the next slide, please. I've got some things here around what they do. We run a call blocker project in the National Trading Standards Scams team. We have managed to get around 6,000 call blocking units out to UK consumers. But as part of that, we get the information on what numbers are being blocked by these call blockers. I will talk a little bit about later on about the call blockers. And the number one scam type from these TrueCall units in the winter is around green government energy grants. So it's people phoning you and saying, did you know you're entitled to an energy grant for solar panels, for loft insulation, for heat pumps, for boilers. We can really bring the cost of your gas and electric down. And people say, oh, yes, that sounds fantastic. That sounds wonderful. What have I got to do? Just hand over your bank details, your card details. It costs £50 to put the process through, or whatever it may be, and then they've got your details, and they can start spending money on that card. There's been a huge increase in spray foam installations and spray foam removals, which is slightly different to the MO that I've kind of mentioned before, because that involves people coming out and actually installing something called spray foam into a loft, and they can do it. They sometimes do it very badly, and it can cause the property to be uninsurable or unmortgageable, and so they're now going around and charging people huge amounts of money to have the product installed. I've also written down warranty extensions there. So I mentioned that during the winter months, we see an increase in green energy scams. During the summer months, we have an increase in what we call white goods insurance scams, where consumers are being targeted and being told that their warranty is up for their boiler, their dishwasher, their washing machine, their TV, name any electrical appliance in a house, and that they need to pay £200 to keep it insured for another year, or have that warranty plan extended for another year, or have the service plan, is another word they use, another phrase they use, to and they charge huge amounts of money to have that plan extended, and it's not worth the paper that it's written on, even if you were to get some paper as well. So I just wanted to kind of mention that we do have the warranty extension scams as well on the phone calls. And next slide, please. This is the last one. So winter gets to Christmas, we get e-commerce fraud. What's e-commerce, I hear you ask? Well, I don't, but e-commerce is basically any online shopping. So if you were to go onto Amazon, that's e-commerce. Any online shop where you go and purchase a product, that would be e-commerce. E-commerce. Sure, you need to be careful. You need to kind of use trusted sites and always verify. I'm going to talk a bit about that now. So how to kind of spot that a website might not be real. If we can go to the next slide, please. There's a few hints and tips here on how to spot if a website might not be might not be a good website. So unsecured websites, there should be a padlock in the browser, and also you should see the letters HTTPS. Sometimes it's quite hard to spot rather than HTTP. It should have the little S on the end. That just means it's secured. Now, if it does have the padlock and if it does have the S on the end, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a legitimate website. They could be offering unbeatable value. They could be providing you with a different payment method than probably what you'd expect. I suppose you're probably expecting now, in this day and age, you're probably expecting to pay for something online with Apple Pay or Google Pay, or just with your card details that have been stored in your browser. But these might ask for different types of payments. So something along the lines of a bank transfer, or even cryptocurrency. So that could raise some suspicion. There could be fake or missing contact information on the website. So if there's no contact information on the website, that should raise some suspicions. There could be an unverified seller, or lack online reviews. So you should always check online reviews as well if you're slightly suspicious. Fake adverts are quite big around this time of year. We have just done a campaign with the anti-counterfeiting group around fake adverts, and we put that out online on our consumer friend website. And there could be inconsistent product descriptions. So I would say always verify. And I've got some information on the last slide about how you can actually do that as well. So next slide, please. I think I've given myself a quick bit of time for language. We have the power of language. The language that we use with victims of fraud has the ability to empower victims, but also disempower victims. We can be responsible for secondary victimization when we're talking to victims of fraud. So next slide, please. We have historically used words like, sorry, I think you might need to push the buttons to make the things come up, make them all come up. We have historically said things like fooled into thinking, you've lost money, you've been swindled, it's been a scammer, who kind of trivializes the problem. You fell for a scam. We don't say you fell for a murder. We don't say you fell for a mugging, but we'll say you fell for a scam. Now, this kind of language puts the blame onto the victim. There is a scam out there for everyone, and they target anyone and everyone, and anyone can be a victim. The language that we should be using is on the next slide, please. Is taking the blame away from the victim and putting the onus onto the criminals. You've become a victim of, you've had your money stolen. These criminals use manipulation, they groom, they use power and control to target their victims. It's the criminal's fault that that person has become a victim of a fraud. And I just quickly wanted to mention that. And this is a result of some research that we've done in the scams team over the last couple of years. And we need to kind of change it up. So we're trying to get this message out to as many people as possible. And lastly but not least is not lastly but not least. I'm sorry, I forgot about this one. We do have a consumer friend podcast. We do have information on our consumer friend website around fraud and scams, but we do talk quite a lot on our podcast around fraud and scams. And there is always an episode in every season that talks about it. This is kind of a shameless plug. Please go and have a listen. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we are on all the good podcast providers and the rubbish ones. Next slide, please. So just lastly from me, how to detect, how to avoid, and how to report. So if you could just push the buttons, get them all to come up. Not everything on the internet is genuine. I don't know whether you knew that. Always check out unsolicited contact and verify the information. Now you can do that by using something called Check a Website. If anyone goes to Get Safe Online, .co.uk or .org.uk is Get Safe Online. There is a section there called Check a Website, and you can put any website into there and it can give you a potential fraud score. So it can tell you whether or not you should be trusting that website, you should be purchasing from that website. Call blocking technology. We've been running call blocking projects at the scams team now since 2019. They are fantastic. They can block up to 99% of scam and nuisance calls and stop that contact altogether, giving people valuable time back in their day. We have video technology at the doorstep. So whether that's a Ring video doorbell or some form of other recording equipment at the doorstep, that can really help. It can really stop criminals contacting consumers via the doorstep. We have mail redirection service. So if someone's getting hounded by mail fraud, you can get mail redirected. You can put yourself onto the telephone preference service or the mail preference service, which means that you'll be removed from marketing mail and marketing telephone calls. Be wary, it doesn't stop the criminals contacting that way because criminals don't care about the MPS or the TPS. But what it can do is it can reduce the amount of calls down. It can reduce the amount of mail that you get. And Friends Against Scams is there. So please do Friends Against Scams to kind of raise awareness of scams and fraud. Consumer education is a really key part of disruption in the UK. So to get people to say no is really, really fantastic. And if you have been a victim of a fraud, make sure you report it to Action Fraud. Also, if you've had money stolen, you should report it to the bank because there is a new system that's come out where victims of fraud can actually get reimbursed and get their money back, which is fantastic. We've been calling for ages. It's not 100%, but it's better than what we had, and it will only get better. And please report it also to Citizens Advice and to the platform where you have been defrauded. So whether that's Facebook or Instagram. I don't know all the social media sites, but that's them. Yeah. And thank you very much. I think that is it from me. I don't think I've got anything else to say. I think I'm going to be I'll be on the panel later for questions. So that is it from me. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you so much, Adam. And yes, we'll be posing questions to you and Linda during the Q&A a little bit later on. So yeah, some real food for thought and valuable advice. And just a reminder, before I have a chat with Linda, you can access all the slides via our webinar page at /seasonal scams webinar. And the recording will be added to the page after this broadcast. And we'll also share all the useful links that are within the slides and that we've mentioned. So yeah, don't worry, you'll receive all the useful information. So, yeah, as part of AbilityNet's partnership with BT Group to help older people and disabled adults master the digital world, we're delighted to gain the support of actress and TV presenter Linda Robson recently. So you might have noticed her in the news in recent weeks. So also, Linda spent some time with a group of older people at one of our in-person sessions in London recently to learn more about digital skills, including how to detect and avoid online scams. So, welcome, Linda. It's a pleasure
Hello.
to meet.
It was a lovely day. I spent a lovely day with all those lovely people. So most of them were like in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, and they were learning how to use their smartphones and learning more about technology. It was a really interesting day because I myself am 66 and I'm not very technical with anything. I rely on mostly nowadays my 8-year-old granddaughter, my 12-year-old granddaughter, because they're so tech savvy now, unlike me. But I'm getting more tech savvy as time goes on.
Oh, well, yeah, and thank you for attending the session and raising the awareness of the important issue of trying to protect yourself from the increasingly sophisticated scamming methods. So I just wanted to ask you, can you share briefly your experience of digital scams?
Yeah, I spoke about this on GMB this week. So probably about maybe 5 or 6 months ago, I was in my dressing room at Loose Women, and I got a text message from my daughter, or what I thought was my daughter, because they spoke exactly the same way as my daughter would speak. It was like they knew how our relationship was. So she texted saying that I've dropped my phone down the toilet. It's waterlogged, so I won't be able to get in touch with you. So I thought, what do I do? So I thought I rang the number, and then they text me back and said, she said, Mum, I can't answer the phone. I told you it's that. Can you send me over some money? So I thought they look after my bank account. So they give me pocket money on a Monday and pocket money on a Friday. So I thought, why she asked me for some money? Or then she asked for my bank details. And that's when I started to think something's not right here. Anyway, eventually, Tom Sage, who's one of the producers, came in and said, I think you're being scammed, Linda. I went, no, no. I said, it's definitely Bobby Girl. So I said, because nobody else knows we call her Bobby Girl. And then at the end of the conversation, at the end of the text message, she went, love you, Mum. And I put, love you back, Bobs. And then realised that it wasn't actually Bobby that I was talking to.
Yeah, and I've seen from the various articles that you've been referenced in, and the interview on Good Morning Britain. Did, from your experiences discussing this in the press recently, what is the advice that you've picked up from the various conversations you've been having?
Well, I think if it sounds too good to be true, normally it is too good to be true. And then I think also you've got to have someone around or someone nearby that you think can help you out if you are worried about something. As I said, I've got my granddaughters, especially the 8-year-old, is much more tech savvy than me, and then my kids as well. But obviously they're not at home all the time now. But and then I'll just ask for my daughter, my oldest daughter, Lauren, her advice. She go, no, Mum, don't answer it. Put it down straight away, or delete the message and that. But it happened to me a couple of times because a photographer I was working with in Bolivia years ago. And when we got back, I sponsored a little girl called Rosa out in Bolivia. And when we got back, he sent an email to my agent saying that his camera had been stolen. He didn't have any money to get home from there. So I rang my agent and said, look, this person can't get home. I need to send him some money. So she rang his agent, and the agent said he's here in this country. He's not been in Bolivia for a long time. So there's been things like that in the past that I didn't realise at the time that's what you call scamming, but now I do.
Okay, and yeah, thank you. That's good advice, and I know we do have some other links and information to share. But from your involvement in the digital skills session with the group in London, what are the kinds of things that you learned in that session, or that are available as part of other sessions like it?
It was amazing to see so many people there, men and women, with their smartphones. And we had like a teacher that talked us through all the different ways of using our smartphones and that. And it was just really, really a helpful session. I really enjoyed it as well and got to know lots of the people. And we had cups of tea and chatted about our families and if they'd tried to been scammed before.
Fantastic, and I've got some information I'll share in a little while after the Q&A session about how anybody that's attending can apply to attend a free digital skills session in your area. But thank you so much, Linda, for all your advice. And I know we'll be chatting again in a moment. But just before we go over to the Q&A for everybody else's questions, we do have a short video of your 3 top 10 tips that about tech that you recorded for us just after the digital skills session. So Kelly, if you're able to play that, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Linda Robson and here are my 3 top tech tips. Number 1, be scam savvy. If something feels suspicious to you, then it normally is. Don't be afraid to ask somebody. Number 2, use tech to expand on your interests. So if there's something you're interested in, tech can help you. Number 3, don't be afraid to ask for help. You can always ask a family member or someone you can trust, or there are groups like AbilityNet that are there to help you.
Thank you. So
Linda Robson, and here are my 3.
So if I could ask Adam to rejoin us, I'm sure you've all got a lot of questions you'd like to ask Adam and Linda. So do fire away in the Q&A window, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. So there's a few questions that have come through. A question from Anthony. Adam, this might be something that you've been asked about before. It's with the advancement of AI and the ability for mass creation of fake profiles, can we expect a spike in romance fraud?
So we're already seeing the use of generative AI in romance fraud, and we're seeing the use of people using fake video chats where you think you're talking to the person when actually you're not talking to that person, but they look real, they look genuine. So yes, we are seeing an increase of AI being used in across all fraud. Which kind of brings us back to that verification piece, and to try and verify as much as you can the information that you're getting. I have a worry that we're going to end up actually not believing and trusting anything that we see and read online, and it is a concern. So yes, we are seeing an increase in the use of AI, and it's something that the government is working hard to try and put things in place to stop, but it's early days at the moment. So yeah, it's certainly there. And we saw the Martin Lewis Elon Musk fake advert that happened, I think it was around this time last year, where Martin Lewis was claiming to have an investment opportunity for all UK consumers, when actually it was just an artificial intelligence video of him talking, and it looked so good, it looked so real, and that was a year ago. It's only going to get better or worse depending on what way you look at it.
And there's a kind of follow-up question from Julie, which relates to Linda from your text message that you received. Do you have a suggestion about what you can do next to be able to try to identify, if you do have your concerns, what would be the advice that you would give? So, for example, could you try the number of the person in question, for example? Oh, sorry, that was for both of you, but yeah, Linda, if you wanted to go first.
As I said, I'm not the most technical person in the world. I'm 66 now, so I'm getting on. So none of this was around when I was growing up. So just as time's gone by, I've just had to try and be more tech savvy all the time. And as I said, I'll always ask one of my kids that I can trust, that will know straight away if there's something dodgy going on there. Or even somebody at work. So we've got lots of people at work that I can ask. Lots of the loose women are more tech savvy than I am, because a lot of them are a lot younger than I am. So there'd be one of those that I'd probably ask.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I just come in on that quickly?
Yeah.
And just talk about, because we speak about this in the team quite a lot, and we kind of champion the idea, and it pains me to say it, we champion the idea of using like a password system with your children, so that so that you can verify that that child is the person that's talking to you on the WhatsApp message or the text message. And it's a horrible thought that we would have to do that, but we're maybe getting to that situation. Also, I think if you do get that dear mum text or the dear dad text, I think phone the genuine number back and just see if it's them, to see if they answer the phone, or text their genuine number, because that could eliminate the problem at source, couldn't it? If you find out that they're not in trouble, they haven't lost their phone down the toilet or anything like that.
Thank you. And we've had a question from Paul and a question from Claire. One was, can we have some easy read information about scams? So that's a great suggestion, and we'll look into that for AbilityNet. But we do have a fact sheet about how to avoid scams and a whole load of information. So we'll include that on the follow-up email and on the recording page of this webinar. So you will receive that. And similarly, a question from Paul, is there a simple one-page guide about scams that we can hand out? Yes, the fact sheet is available in a printable format. So yeah, you'll receive all of those links.
Annie, can I come in on that as well? Is that all right?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
sure.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to take over.
No, do.
But the Friends Against Scams website has got information available in easy read. It's also got the whole Friends Against Scams session in BSL. It's got an interactive training session. It's got an accessible version training session, and it's also got young friends against scams, which is aimed at 8 to 14-year-olds, and that's around cascading the message from, we call it, from grassroots to grey roots. So yeah, the children talking to their grandparents and parents and passing messages up rather than down. So there's a lot of information on the Friends Against Scams website around fraud and scams as well.
I've definitely got grey roots now, Adam.
Sorry?
I said I've definitely got grey roots now.
Well, the grassroots are great, and the idea is that you probably wouldn't listen to your child, but you probably listen to your grandchild more.
Oh, actually, yeah, they've got more time for me than my kids.
Yeah.
I think we've got time for one more question. So it's a related question to the AI question from earlier. Do you think scammers and AI will bring an end to social media, as we'll no longer be able to trust anything that we see? Are there, particular ways that we can verify social media accounts and profiles, Adam, that you could suggest?
I'm really sorry, but I really can't, and I think the AI, the generative AI, is something that is with us now, and it's only going to get worse. And I have this fear that we are going to get to the situation where we cannot trust anything that we see and read online, and I don't mean to be a doom monger or anything like that, and it sounds terrible. It sounds really dark, and I'm sure there are some people out there that are far more cleverer than me, who are going to try and solve this problem, but I'm not there yet, I'm afraid. So I'm really sorry.
Well, hopefully, as tech progresses and keep coming along to webinars like this, and to look on the Friends Against Scams website and various other trusted sources of advice, it will help. So yeah, we'll share all the information we have currently, and we'll keep developing further information and guidance. So thank you, both of you, for joining us. Just want to share a little bit more information before we wrap up. But also thank you to Patricia with My Clear Text, who is doing the live captions, and my colleague Kelly in the background on the slides. So just a little bit more information that might be of interest. As I mentioned, AbilityNet offers free IT support at home and online. So that includes fact sheets, our free webinars, and you can call our helpline on 0300 180 0028. And you can find out about the tech support at /at-home. Also, if you are interested in becoming an AbilityNet volunteer, we have a network around the country, so you can find out more about that at /volunteer. And to follow up with some more information about the BT Digital Skills Partnership, so we have opportunities for free in-person digital skills support available to older people 65 years and above, and disabled adults in London, Birmingham, Glasgow, Edinburgh, the east coast of Scotland, Newcastle, Cardiff and surrounding areas, and you can find out more at /BT Digital Skills. And if you don't live in those areas outlined, do please give us a call, because we do have local tech volunteers that can help you with your digital questions. And all of this information and all of these links will be shared with you on the email follow-up. You can ask for training on topics, including staying safer online. And we do also have some bite-sized learning videos. Oh, that was just on the previous slide, but you'll receive the slide deck. So you can have a look on our YouTube channel and look at topical tech information. And then we also run training courses at /training, and there's a code AbilityNet webinar 10 where you can save 10% on all of our courses. So that's if you're here from an organisation looking for staff training. And then finally, you can sign up to our newsletter at /newsletter, and that will give you information about our upcoming free webinars. And the next one is on Wednesday, the 22nd of January, and that's New Year, New Digital You, Unlock Your Online Potential in 2025, and that's at /digital 2025. And this is another session that's aimed at older people, and it will help you learn about tools and apps that can transform how you interact online with digital devices. So thank you again, everybody who's joined us, and please do complete the feedback form that you'll be directed to at the end, and we'll be in touch soon. And have a very Merry Christmas, and I hope to see you.
Merry Christmas to you too. Thank you.
Happy Christmas, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.